What if the greatest lesson you ever learned about life didn't come from a book or a therapist, but from a pickleball court? John is a quiet man, a veteran fighting the battle of his life against lymphoma. But the way he treats people, the unwavering spirit he brings, it's infectious. His secret isn't about being strong, it's about being incredibly good. Stick around to see the impact this one man had and what he taught our entire community about true strength and friendship. Before we start, please note, names and images have been changed to protect privacy, and nothing in this video should be taken as medical advice. Always, always, always consult a physician for everything before doing anything. Please enjoy this heartfelt journey till the end, and let us know in the comments if you or a loved one was impacted and can relate to this story of community, strength, and friendship. I met John in a place where friendships are born not through grand gestures or lengthy conversations, but through sweat, laughter, and the unmistakable pop of a pickleball against a paddle. It was on a Monday morning, several years ago, under the soft morning sun at our local court. I noticed him right away, a little older than the rest of us, moving a bit slower, but with a quiet focus in his eyes that told you this man had stories. Deep stories. John never introduced himself with a resume. He didn't mention his service in Vietnam. He didn't talk about the battle he'd fought after the war. Not with bullets, but with something far more insidious, the effects of Agent Orange and later, lymphoma. You'd never know by just watching him on the court. But when you looked closer, you saw a warrior. Pickleball became our shared language. And over time, I came to understand why the others in our group, 20 strong and full of life, always lit up when John showed up. We play every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and to be honest, those games wouldn't feel the same without him. The court changes when John steps onto it. The rhythm shifts. There's more patience, more joy, more depth. Every rally becomes more than a game. It becomes a testament to living fully, in spite of what life throws your way. John doesn't speak often about Vietnam unless you ask. When he does, his voice grows quieter, but steady. He was young, like most who served. Too young, he'll admit, to understand what was waiting for him. He came home to a country still learning how to welcome its soldiers back. And while the physical war ended, another war began within him. The Agent Orange exposure wasn't immediate in its damage. Years later, health problems began surfacing, inflammation, fatigue, and then, the diagnosis, lymphoma. It knocked him down, hard. There were surgeries, treatments, and days he couldn't get out of bed. But what struck me, and everyone who knows John, is that he never stayed down. He always fought his way back, not for attention, not even necessarily for himself, but for the people he loved, for his dignity, and for the joy of doing simple things like holding a paddle and chasing a plastic ball across a painted court. When John started playing with us, some folks were worried, not because they didn't want him, quite the opposite. We were worried for him. His body carried the toll of years. His endurance wasn't what it used to be. But what we underestimated, and quickly learned, was his heart. That man's heart beats with something stronger than most of us can fathom. Courage, sure, but also grace. Every time John plays, we rally around him. Not because he needs our help, though we do help. We chase down his errant balls. We cover a little more of the court. But more than that, we support him because of what he gives back. His presence reminds us that our excuses are small. That effort, no matter how imperfect, is always worth it. That being alive, truly alive, means showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. There's something sacred in watching him move on the court. He's slower, yes, but every step is deliberate. Every hit is filled with intent. He grins when a shot goes in his favor. He shrugs when it doesn't. He praises good plays by others, win or lose. He plays the game in the purest sense of the word, and it brings out the best in all of us. I remember one day, a Wednesday, not long after one of John's treatments. We hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks, and honestly, some of us feared the worst. Then, without fanfare, there he was, walking slowly onto the court, paddle in hand, wearing that old faded hat that had clearly seen more sun than shade. A silence fell over the group for a second, and then someone shouted, "John's back!" It was like the energy in the air doubled instantly. We clapped. We cheered. Someone ran over to offer him water. Another pulled out a chair so he could sit between games. And before long, he was back out there, playing with the same quiet focus, the same unflinching spirit. That's John, never asking for special treatment, but always receiving it, not out of pity, but out of respect. There's something deeply human about what happens when we gather around someone who reminds us of our own vulnerability, but also our own strength. John is our mirror. He shows us what it looks like to keep going, to find joy in the present moment, to value connection over competition. The 20 of us who gather 3 times a week aren't just players, we're a community, a tribe. And like any tribe, we look after our own. John, in many ways, is the heart of it. New players who join us are quickly introduced to him. They hear snippets of his story, and once they've played a game or two with him, they understand why people want to be on John's team. There's always someone offering to partner with him, not because it's easier. In fact, many take on more of the court when they do. But because playing with John changes the way you play, you become more aware, more grateful. You savor the volleys. You appreciate the laughter. You stop worrying so much about the score. John brings something intangible to the court, a kind of humility that inspires everyone to be just a little better. Not just better players, but better people. If you ask me what I've learned from John, I could fill a book, but here are a few that come to mind. Show up when you can, and forgive yourself when you can't. There are days John can't play. His body won't let him. And on those days, he rests without shame. But when he can play, he does, with everything he's got. Be generous with encouragement. John compliments good plays. He thanks his partners. He respects his opponents. There's never bitterness, never frustration, just appreciation. Carry your pain, but don't let it define you. John doesn't hide what he's been through, but he doesn't lead with it either. His story lives in his body, but his spirit is what shines. Community matters. We don't play with John because we're doing him a favor. We play with him because he makes us better. He brings out our best instincts, our compassion, our patience, our joy. Life is a gift, play it out. Every game is a celebration, not of perfection, but of participation, of effort, of fun. John plays like he knows the value of time, because he does. I sometimes wonder what it will be like when John is no longer able to play. It's not something any of us want to think about, but life being what it is, we know that day will eventually come. Still, even when that day arrives, John will remain with us, in the way we chase balls for one another, in the patience we offer slower players, in the stories we tell newcomers. His legacy is already part of our group's DNA, and maybe that's the most powerful part of all. That one man, wounded by war, racked by illness, slowed by age, could create so much light simply by showing up, simply by playing the game with everything he had. So here's to John, our friend, our fighter, our inspiration. May we all live and play with the same grace. We hope this story about love and resilience on the pickleball court had meaning in your life. If it did, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to this channel. It helps bring more stories like this to life. This story inspired us to make a design that represents courage, healing, and hope. If you or a loved one can relate, we invite you to help keep this message alive. You'll find the link in the description below. For more uplifting stories, click a playlist or video here.